Welcome to Currents Up Close, and another in a series of programs on education in the Cedar Falls Community Schools. And my guest today, I'm very pleased to have Kenton Swartley. Kenton's a physics teacher at Cedar Falls High School and really the co-founder of the entire robotics program that you're going to tell us about today. So Kenton, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And we have Jason Cheng, and Jason is a junior at Cedar Falls High School. And Charlotte Brandenburg, and Charlotte is a senior at Cedar Falls High School. And we're going to start with our students first here, if I could do that, Kenton, and just tell us a little bit about where you're at and how you got involved in this program. Jason?
Well, I was always interested in engineering from a young age, and I'd always been looking for an opportunity to get into this kind of robotics thing because it was always something that I thought was cool. But before I actually came to Cedar Falls, I lived in North Carolina where there weren't as many opportunities that were offered to me. So what happens is that how I got involved with 525 is I actually had just moved into my house, and my neighbors happened to be Jan and Bruce Neuendorf, who are really, really, really passionate mentors for the team. So the second words that they ever said to my family after hello were, "Your sons should join the robotics team." And then they invited me to a summer meeting that was actually happening in a week. I went there, I got introduced to some of the mentors, some of the mechanical stuff, and I haven't turned away since.
Great. Charlotte, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your involvement in your senior year, and then maybe what's going to happen in the future for you.
Well, I got involved with the robotics program pretty early on. One of the mentors Jason mentioned, Jan, started a first LEGO League team, which we'll tell you what that is a little later. And I joined that in 4th grade and stuck with it, and then in 9th grade I was excited to join the high school team, and I've stuck with that since.
Great. In Kenton, we talked about really the founder of this entire program in Cedar Falls, and it takes us way back to 1998-99 school year. And how did you get interested in the robotics program?
Well, it was actually a video that was sent to me, kind of a chance thing. The FRC team in Iowa City sent out a promotional video, and I had watched it and then had a few minutes at the end of class one day, so I showed it to my students, and they got excited about it and they wanted to start a team. So the picture here is the first team in 1998 to 99, and those students were very excited about it, and so they went out and did a lot of fundraising, contacting potential donors and engineers who could mentor us. And so I agreed to be the faculty advisor as we got started that year.
Well, I noticed that we have our t-shirts on. You have your t-shirts on with 525 Swart Dogs, and so we need to tell our viewers how that originated and approximately when in this evolution from 1998-99 to the current team program. How'd that happen? Well,
the number, the 525, is a number assigned by FIRST to teams when they join the program. And actually in 98 to 99, our number was 332. But in 2000, the next year, we did not compete. We had a little trouble arranging finances. So we sat out a year, and then when we came back, they counted us as a rookie again and gave us a new number. So then that number you carry with your team forever.
All right.
And the lower the number, the older the team is. So now the new team numbers this year in about the 5,600 range. And the name Swart Dogs, I had students even back in 98 to 99 who wanted to call the team the Swart Dogs. Somehow they got that nickname from me from somewhere, and I did not really want that to happen, and so I opposed that name until about 2006, I believe it was, and then I finally agreed that if they could come up with an acronym that related to robotics and the name Swart Dogs, then I would allow it to be used. And in 5 minutes, one of the students had come up with the acronym Students Working Around Robotics Technology. And so that's stuck with us since then.
And dogs, we don't know what that acronym is.
I don't know where that came from.
All right, that's the hard work that you put into it. Well, great. Let's start with the basics here. First, what is FIRST? And tell our viewers about what this acronym stands for and a little bit about the goals of the program.
Sure. FIRST is an acronym that stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. And it's an organization that was founded in the early 90s by an inventor, Dean Kamen. And his goal was to create an environment that was really exciting, that would promote STEM. And so they came up with the idea of a robotics competition that was kind of formatted after sports events. And they've added a full range of programs, starting with the Junior FLL that is for the younger elementary grades, then First Lego League in the upper elementary grades, First Tech Challenge, which is grade 7 through 12, and then FRC, First Robotics Competition, that we're involved in, which is grades 9 through 12. And it's a program for students to challenge them in STEM areas. One of the key aspects is also the mentoring that happens, where you get professional engineers to volunteer their time to work with young students and train them. And then it's also a partnership with businesses, and there is some expense, and so one of the goals is to connect local community businesses with the school teams.
Well, great. One of the, as you noticed, we have some of your t-shirts show the Chinese symbols there, and we're going to talk about the trip to China later on. But let's go back to Jason and Charlotte and tell us about your involvement. You mentioned a little bit that you got involved early on, and we have some slides to help us out with that as well. So Charlotte, how about you? You started out at 4th grade, and tell us a little bit about that program.
All right. First Lego League involves building robots out of Legos, the Lego Mindstorm set, and then programming those to complete tasks on a board. We call them missions. And it takes kind of a team effort to design that and build it. So it's the first look at the kind of team environment for a lot of those students.
And we have a video here that I think, is that at Holmes Junior High School, or is that at Pete?
That's at Pete.
At Pete Junior High School. And what was this event all about? Jason, were you there?
Yes, I was actually. So the event that you see on the screen, that's actually what's called a regional qualifier that we host at Pete. It's a big competition for all the local teams and all the teams that sign up, where they all get together and they have these big mission fields that you can see in the red and the blue, and the robots can compete on those and try to score points. But beyond that, it's also, there are judging sessions in which you present your idea that you've been working on all season, which is the entire point of FLL, to inspire them to make like ideas based on a theme. And there's also rating teams. Now here you see the award ceremony, which we recognize what the judges recognize as the best and the brightest teams that have deserved the awards in various areas.
So it's not a competition, but there is an opportunity to be recognized as really the leader in your fields, even at that age.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit about moving into the China trip, and we're talking about the fundamentals of the program, but you had a great opportunity this past year, and Jason and Charlotte were part of that. Kenton, but this China connection, what did that happen, and how did you get started with this?
In 2012, our team had qualified for the championships in St. Louis, and so our whole team was there, and one of our parents who spoke Chinese happened to meet a Chinese businessman who was interested in starting teams in China. And so she was able to interpret and explain to him about the first programs, and he was very excited about developing teams and started one team there in 2013, and then to help promote the growth in China, he invited 4 of our mentors to come over in December of that year, where we did some mentor workshops and training with some of the new rookie team mentors there. So you can see here one of our mentors is showing what we call the suitcase robot to the members of the new Chinese teams there. And we ran 3 days of sessions there in December, explaining about anything from mechanics to programming to team organization and development. And the students and teachers there were very excited about seeing this little robot that we brought along. We were able to make it so we could fold it up and pack it in a suitcase and take it through customs nice and easily.
So that really was the beginning then of your connection, and then the following year you planned the trip for 2014.
In summer of 2014, we took a group of 24 from our team over for the first Chinese Robotics Challenge scrimmage there with new teams that were part of the competition. This picture is showing some of the students at one of their schools and some of our mentors eating lunch with them. And the next picture here shows the arena where our scrimmage was held in August.
And let's talk with Jason and Charlotte here a little bit. How did you decide to get involved? Did you have to qualify within the Swart Dogs to get on the traveling team, or how did that all happen? Jason?
Well, for me personally, it was almost purely because I can speak Chinese and I have a fairly strong technical background because of my involvement on the mechanical team. So my job when we went over there was, for the first 3 days, I was helping out the members of their drive team because some of them had never driven a robot before. Some of them didn't even know how the robot worked because they'd only built it 2 days ago. So I was there to help smooth over any mechanical issues and to calm them down in Chinese because robots are really exciting.
Yeah.
For the next 2 days, however, I had actually one of the most fun things where I was translating technical sessions. And that was actually really fun to me because you're seeing there's 20 teams in the auditorium there, and they're all listening to you because they don't understand the English. And then you get this sudden pressure of realizing that you're basically giving them all the technical advice they'll get for the next year to compete in FRC.
Right.
So that was really fun and really nerve-wracking for me.
Very interesting. Charlotte, what are your thoughts about having that opportunity to go to China on this program?
It was great getting to go. I was one of the ones invited just because of having a lot of involvement with the team. And while there, I too helped some teams finish up their robots, make sure they were match ready. And it was a really great experience getting to see that new excitement starting there.
Great. Well, we have some experiences that are here that Kenton, you may want to talk about.
Yeah, these are some pictures of some of the Chinese teams. This team that you see here actually had joined us last year here in the States. They came over for competition last year in April, and we went to the Queen City Regional in Cincinnati, Ohio together. They flew into they drove to Waterloo, joined us on a charter bus as we drove all the way to Cincinnati.
And we have some experiences also, and I assume these are the referees.
Yes, part of our goal as a team going over there was to help organize the event and also train Chinese volunteers. So here in the middle you see two of our alumni who have reffed FRC matches here in the States. And so they went along and served as kind of the head refs and the trainers for Chinese volunteers.
And this is actually in the arena on site?
Right, this is the arena, and this is at the end of the competition showing the 4 American teams that had traveled over there for the event.
We also have a couple of videos here. We want to show at least one of them, right? And so, Jason, let's tell us about what's going on right here.
So if you look at the video, this is actually a match in the CRC, the China Robotics Challenge, in which all 6 of these are new Chinese teams that had just started for this competition. Now this is exciting for us because this was the first match that had 6 full Chinese teams on the field, and there were no American teams. And remember that some of these robots had only been built a couple of days before they actually drove. So they're actually really competitive here. If you'll see, they're trying to shoot the ball, they're trying to score it in, they're trying to pass, they're driving all over the field. So it's just a lot of fun for them and for us to watch them finally work.
Okay, we have really another video we want to take a look at, and before we go into break, and Charlotte will let you explain a little bit on that video. Tell us what's happening here.
Well, the girl there is Katie, who's an alumni of our team, and she is helping announce this match, it looks like.
And this is actually in what city did you attend this program?
This was in Shenzhen.
Okay. A city of a few million people.
Yeah.
And what's going on right now?
So this is actually the alliance selection where the top 5 seeded teams, the teams that have won the most matches throughout the past couple of days, get to pick who they want to work with for a few final matches, in which it's a single elimination tournament where they play each other, and then the teams that win best 2 out of 3 matches move on until only 1 is remaining.
Great. Well, that video takes us into the break, and we're going to come back with more about the Chinese experience, the exchange program, really you going over and instructing teams to be involved in the program. So with that, we'll break for a few seconds. Welcome back to Currents Up Close and another program in education, and we're pleased to have our guest today explaining the robotics program at Cedar Falls High School, Kenton Swartley, physics instructor and robotics founder and Swart Dogs champion for also many years. Jason Cheng, a junior at Cedar Falls High School and a member of the team, and Charlotte Brandenburg, a senior and also a member of the team. And we've been showing some slides and videos in the first part of the program. We want to pick up with some of those again and talk a little bit. And maybe, Jason and Charlotte, you can tell us about what's going on here in China with a routine that looks pretty good right here to me.
Well, this is actually a team dinner of sorts in which after the competition was over, a lot of the American teams and a lot of the Chinese volunteers would get together for a meal after the competition. Now this is actually dinner at one of the restaurants, and you'll see here that these are very Chinese dishes. There aren't a lot of things you'd see in America here, and it was actually very cool for me personally because I'd been eating this stuff my entire life, and I got to see the faces of my teammates enjoying such foods.
Great. Charlotte, how about your experience with the culinary aspect here?
It was interesting. It was a little bit of a challenge for me because I'm vegetarian, but besides that, it was cool that it was so different from what we see here.
I think you had a lot of vegetarian choices there, it looked like.
Actually, they had lots of meat, so it was somewhat of a challenge to get vegetarian dishes at some of our meals.
Well, great. Well, we'll move on with some of the other pictures. And Kenton, what about this photo right here?
Yeah, this is one of the views of the high-rise buildings in Shenzhen. And one of the things that amazed me was just how much construction was going on and how many high-rises there were all over the place. Just everywhere you looked. Many, many people.
Great. Kenton, you mentioned earlier about partners and mentors, and I think we have a couple of slides here, and these have been very important connections to the program for the 525 Swart Dogs, and so tell us a little bit about that.
It is an expensive program, and so we really rely on local businesses to help support our program. So this is a picture of our banner, team banner, where we recognize sponsors who have donated $1,000 or more to the program, and they are listed as team partners. So at competition, when they announce our name, they will announce it as John Deere and PTC and Rockwell Collins, and just read off the whole list, and then at the end they'll say, and Cedar Falls High School.
Okay, great. All right, the mentors are really important cogs, and here we have a video, and tell us about that.
Yeah, this picture shows 2 of our mentors with the 525 t-shirts. On the right side is Jen Neuendorf, as she is receiving a trophy for the Woody Flowers Award, which recognizes an outstanding mentor. And the man in the blue shirt there is Woody Flowers, one of the founders of FIRST, and it was a good experience there that she was actually able to receive that award from him, which not everybody gets to do.
Great. We've talked a little bit about STEM, and there have been many acronyms for connecting science and engineering and mathematics over the years, and recently technology. So the term STEM has come about, and it's almost kind of concurrent with what you started with the robotics program at Cedar Falls High School. So tell us a little bit more about how you view that as a physics instructor, and then incorporating the science, technology, engineering, and math.
Well, as I see, our society is going much, much more into technical things. And so the technology is everywhere. We need to understand it and learn about it and be able to embrace it, and also be involved in developing new technologies. So I think the robotics is a really good practical application of that, where students can learn good skills and learn things that they wouldn't necessarily see in the classroom.
Charlotte, you mentioned earlier about the team, not so much the competition, but the cooperation. And I think one of the original goals was to have problem-solving, cooperative work on solving these problems and using all the background information that you can assemble. So it's not just an individual effort. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of a team effort on this team. It usually takes more than one person to get something designed and just bounce ideas off each other, and building it too takes a lot of effort and work between people. And even in between teams, we have a concept called cooperation, which sometimes shows up in the games, where the two teams, the opposing alliances, can work together to score more points that they wouldn't be able to get by themselves.
That's an interesting concept. Jason, what about that? How did you square off with that as you were looking at it as an individual and helping others? Tell us about that.
Well, going from the outside in, you see these problem-solving skills getting used in real life, where robotics is teaching us as students how to cooperate with each other and that there are no wrong ideas. For our robot, it's a really big concept and a lot of things go in there. So maybe the idea that you have at the beginning of the season may not be the best one, but maybe some parts of it are going to be used in the final. And so you get that idea within the team. And then without, as Charlotte said, with a cooperation, like this year, there's a giant in the field, there's a giant step in the middle, and then you have to stack things on top of it to get points. However, your alliance alone does not have enough materials to score those points. So both alliances have to work together or they both fail, and that's kind of a really good thing to learn going into life, that sometimes you have to work with others in order to get the best awards.
Certainly, very real life situation. Kenton, when you've been working with this program for so many years now, and you've had really graduates, and Jason just mentioned about this is life out in the future, and we've had many examples of your students who have succeeded in these STEM kinds of careers. And we have just a couple of slides, so tell us a little bit generally about the graduates that have been in the program.
Well, we try to track somewhat the graduates, and right now we're estimating that about 75 to 80% of our graduates go on into some STEM field. Here you have a couple of pictures from our 2003 team. And on the left there is Brandon Neuendorp. He's the son of a couple of our mentors. He now works for Apple. And on the right is David Lance, and he is sitting in front of a bunch of computer screens in a NASA control room.
Right.
So that's his career choice there. And I just remember for both of them, those were kind of their dream jobs when they were in high school, what they really were looking forward to, and it's great to see that they have made it to that point.
Great. I happened to watch a little bit of the Orion flight here, and that David Lance was actually I think it was described to me as the pointer, and he was in charge or a backup for all that. Yep. So it was way beyond what I could comprehend, but it was a very impressive operation as that project was going on. So it's been fun for you to follow the graduates who've been in the program, yes, and to connect with what Jason and Charlotte have talked about here on those learning experiences that are going to serve them well throughout their careers. That's great. Let's go back a little bit to the Chinese program and the program, and tell us a little bit about what's next. You had those students, and again, a number of students you took over last August was what?
We had 8 students who are currently in school at Cedar Falls High School now, and there were another 4 who had just graduated.
Just graduated, okay. So then what's going to happen next? I think you told me that there will be an exchange, that Chinese teams will be coming back to the American competition?
Yes, we have a lot of connections, so there will be a group that's coming actually next week for some FTC competition. Then in April, we are going to a regional event up in Minneapolis, and there are 5 Chinese teams that will join us. So we'll connect with them. 3 of them will actually come here to Cedar Falls first and do some visiting here at UNI and our high school and John Deere, and then they'll travel up to Minneapolis with us and compete at the same regionals there.
And Jason and Charlotte, let's say Charlotte, you'll be graduating by that time, but you'll still be around, or did you say
this
that's
is in April? So
she'll
definitely
be here. And what will you two be doing as this? Will you know some of those students as they return or they come to the United States?
I actually will. I made some very good friends when I was over in China and when they came over to the States from 4830 from Shenzhen. We got to talking, I exchanged numbers with a few of them, emails with a few others. So when they come back, I'll be able to talk to them, and it's just, this experience has allowed me to make some friends that I would never have otherwise, and I get to see them again in April, so that's going to be very exciting for me.
Charlotte, what do you anticipate your involvement to be with the program at that time?
I look forward to getting to meet a lot of new people and getting to guide them in their look at this, the American competition.
Great. Kenton, how about the logistics of that entire operation? I know that you've been involved with the logistics of getting our own teams to the regional and the ultimate competitions there, but this seems to be a really huge kind of logistical nightmare for everybody involved, including you.
It is a big challenge. There's a lot of little details to work out, things that I never knew how to do before, like applying for visas and making sure all that's taken care of. I've had great support with our mentors, and also Min Zhang, who's the parent who made this original contact for us. She has been instrumental in making travel arrangements and connections with the Chinese groups. And they have already said they are going to host another regional or scrimmage in China in August. They're going to invite us. We'll have to figure out if we can make another trip there or not. So that's still in the deciding stages.
Lots of things will go into that. Kenton, what out of all these years you've been involved, and it has to be a very gratifying experience for you, but first of all, I've got to say you've spent a tremendous amount of time beyond the classroom in after-school, evenings, weekends, international travel. And has that been the motivating factor, the driving force behind your involvement? What really what is at the bottom of what you see in all this?
Well, I think for me, the two things. One is the opportunities for students that you don't normally get in the classroom. And students are used to sitting in the classroom, reading textbooks, doing problems, but this is a chance to get some real-world application out there and connect with engineers. And the second part of it is I really value the first program and what they are promoting in terms of gracious professionalism and cooperation of working together, promoting teamwork as opposed to fighting each other for who wins.
Quick response, Charlotte and Jason, what's one thing that you can take away from this program that's going to be with you for, I figure out, for your lifetime? What do you think it'll be, Jason?
If you do things you like with people you like, then it'll all be worth it in the end.
Great. Charlotte?
Beyond the technical skills, the program has also given me confidence. Like, I wouldn't be here on TV before this.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us and telling us about the robotics program, the Swart Dogs at Cedar Falls High School.